absolutely your dream. There's just bins of parts. There's cars everywhere. There's a rack full of parts. Look, he's smiling. He's smiling ear to ear. He's like,
Yes, it's about 1,000 horsepower. It's done 186 mile an hour in the standing half. So
how many 1,000 horsepower
pretty much everything.
RS3s have you guys built now?
10, 15 of them in the last maybe 6 months. So yeah, we're pumping them out.
I mean, these are just become like the, obviously there's nothing really in there right now, but.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit of a turbo upgrade. But yeah, it's kind of what the motor looks like over here.
So 1,000 horsepower, stock wheels, stock interior, ultimate sleeper.
Yeah.
Does it even have just stock suspension in there too?
Yeah.
So 1,000 horsepower, daily driven on the 07K is pretty mellow now.
Yeah, pretty much.
So why am I building a 3B instead of an 07K? So what are you guys doing to get to 1,000 horsepower on the 07K?
Yeah, just come over here, we'll show some turbos. You know, just we put these big turbos on them. And you know, the reason why these are so fast is because from the factory they come with 10 injectors. So direct injectors on bottom, port injectors on top. So it's not hard to get more fuel into them, and the fueling is usually the hard part. Adding big turbos is usually pretty easy. So you know, you would just shove a bunch of air in them and a bunch of fuel and magic.
So compare this to like the original inline 5 or like the 3B AAN, which is like what most people are familiar with.
Yeah. So like the original 3B is you know, an 81 millimeter stroke or bore with a 86.4 stroke, 2.2 liter. And these are 92.8 stroke with an 82.5 millimeter bore. So they're 2.5 liters. There's no timing belt on these. There's just chains. The real reason why this motor is pretty special is because you share so much stuff with the Huracan, with the 5.2 liter. So the cylinder heads flow really well. It's a roller rocker, so we can spin them up to 8,500 RPM. They just sing.
So thank Lamborghini is what you're saying.
Yeah. We've probably got a cylinder head that we're both a Lamborghini and a 07K cylinder head, but you probably wouldn't be able to tell them apart.
Really?
Yeah, they look pretty much.
So have you guys been doing any Lambo work as well?
Yeah, I mean the CNC profiles that we're using for these it's basically Huracan stuff.
So like where the W12 is two VR6s put together.
Right.
This is sort of the opposite, where they basically took they built the V10 first, and then that technology trickled back into an i5.
Right, exactly. So if you understand the V10 at all, you have two engines basically. You have the first gen, which is the 5 liter, and then you have the second gens, which are 5.2s, direct injected. And the early cast iron block 07Ks are super similar to the early 5 liters, like the original Gallardos and R8s. And then when you went to the Huracan, the Huracan got a 5.2 liter, and the facelift R8 got the 5.2 liter. And that motor is very similar to the aluminum block 07K Evo. So it's all kissing cousin in old Volkswagen.
So it started as 5-cylinder, put two 5-cylinders together, you got Gen 1 V10, and then Gen 2 V10 then went back to being 5 cylinders.
Yeah. So the Huracan as well has port injectors and
I think that's how they make tadpoles. I think it's like this.
It's basically the same concept.
What do we got next?
So you asked about how light these 07Ks are. Here, I'll film you, but check out how light this thing is. Just like, I mean,
And you actually have cast ones too.
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh man.
It's crazy, huh?
I know exactly how heavy a 3B is because I just lifted one into a truck the other day.
Yeah, so that's a cast iron version back there if you wanted to throw your back out.
Oh god. Yeah.
See how we put sleeves in them like that, and you know we've got a couple of motors right now that are well north of 1,200 horsepower with that block just like that.
1,200 horse, 5-cylinder.
Yeah. Whew.
And like pretty like street team.
Yeah, we'll drive one a little bit later, but I mean I still have a plate on my car, so.
And like you like take the kids to school in your car, don't you?
I have, yeah.
So Zach, we got the aluminum block here.
Okay.
And we've got a cast block there.
So these are essentially like the same.
So it's the same exact motor, except this is the Gen 2 version that is aluminum, which saves, we think, about 50 pounds.
Okay.
So, your muscles McGee over here. So, you think you can, you want to pick up the cast one first? What do you want to go first, the heavy one or the light one?
I kind of want to try the heavy one first.
This is a practical experiment where Zach muscle bound. But you can't lift that one?
I mean, I can. We're gonna. Okay, that's pretty heavy. Oh man. Oh, that's a huge difference.
It's wild, right?
That's well over 100 pounds.
And this is why I want to go to this engine, because realize all that weight hangs out over the front axle in my car.
Dude, that's.
I mean, that's a one-hander. You could do that with one hand.
Yeah, that's. What kind of sleeves do you guys use? Martin. Oh, yeah, same ones that are in my block.
Yeah, but your car don't make 1,200 horsepower.
No, it does not.
That was kind of him to remind you of that.
The perfect back on that is my car makes no horsepower right now. So I think the coupe's at 161 from the factory, which means it's probably down with build up and time and wear. It's probably making like a good 97 horse right now. So
Does it start?
yeah, it does start.
Okay.
Yeah, the Audi starts now.
Okay.
Here for Scott. True.
Probably. How much does this iron block weigh?
Dude, if I had to guess, probably 140 pounds, 130 pounds, something like that.
Close. And then this one.
It's probably about 90.
That's big.
I guess. And it's just weight over with the Audis. It's just weight over the front axle, so that's why it's kind of a BFD. And then just like the cranks are super light in these as well. I think this is one back here. You know, they're all like, when we first saw them for the first time, we thought there's no way these things are going to make power because they're just dinky.
Oh, man.
And it's all like, everything's all drilled, the thing's hollow down the center. I thought there was no way possible we'd have to make billet cranks pretty quickly, but we still haven't had huge issues with them.
So what is the craziest thing you've seen happen to these motors when they do go? And by the way, he's saying that he's not seeing problems till they're north of 40, 60 pounds of boost.
Yeah, so like that blue car on the lift over there, we're running 55 pounds of boost. We just barely started playing with nitrous on it, on top. So, yeah, pretty big cylinder pressures that it's putting up with. It's crazy.
Yeah, and they're just really just lifting heads. That's it.
Starting to put big ARP hardware in there, bigger studs, stuff like that. Just keep the heads
Starting to?
Yeah.
They're at the 1,200 horsepower range. They're just starting to now.
What you gotta realize is just this thing is just going so quickly. This time of the year last year, like we were still, like I think we just barely got 9s. Cars were making like 750 wheel.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the curve is just skyrocketing. Like I won't be shocked at all if this car ends up going 7s next year, in the 3rd year of a production run.
All right, so walk us through the head now.
All right, so this is a really dirty one over here, but you know if you look real closely on it, it'll say 07K, which is it's really funny. This term back in the day they used to call these 5 cylinders the rabbit motors, and one day I said, let's start calling them the 07K motors. It's a little more sophisticated than the rabbit motor, and it's really stuck.
Well, that's because the first motor we got was just a rabbit, non-turbo inline 5.
So I coined it the 07K, started calling it the 07K, and it's kind of stuck. But
so wait, are you saying that you were the one that labeled the 07K? So you're taking that claim?
I'm taking the claim.
All right, cool.
So that's me. I remember when I was standing in the shop when that happened. Okay, so like I told you earlier, if you looked at a Lamborghini right there, it would just say 07L. Like, so what's the letter after K?
Yeah, that's
L.
it.
And that's why these heads are so special. You know, they have these little roller rockers on the cam that helps them to where they either got a good rocker ratio, so you can have these huge duration. If you look at the cam lobe on that thing, it's just a huge duration lobe, so that the valve stays open for an eternity, and the ports flow really well. So you have all your direct injectors come in right here, very similar to the V10 stuff, and then a great little combustion chamber that this one's really dirty, but where you pretty detonation proof. They take a bunch of timing and are pretty dang good for detonation resistance. And you flip them over, kind of got a unique deal for the exhaust manifolds. They kind of like hook in there, and then they bolt in from the top, just like the R8 and Huracan. In fact, you can bolt up Huracan and you can bolt those manifolds up to the head. That's how close they are to being.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You can drop the cams in here even. There's different firing orders. So if you wonder why the motors are so special, it's just because we kind of got a hand-me-down from Lamborghini.
Very nice.
Yeah, just use good parts.
So you've got direct injection, but then you also have 5 other.
Yeah. So they have direct injectors on the bottom, about 400 wheel horsepower worth on ethanol, and then on the top side, just put your port injector choice. And we run anywhere from 850cc injectors to 2000s.
And that was a factory, like they run that factory.
Yeah. I think they did it a lot for trying to get rid of like carbon deposits on valves.
So it's an emissions thing that worked out well for us.
Yeah. We just scored because now we can put and like the OEM application, they don't use the port injectors for power at all. They use them for like cold start. They use them for like light load. They use them just to clean the valves off, and then what we do is we just
dump a ton of fuel through them.
Power. So what you got here is just like a clutch pack here, and then a pump. Basically just applies pressure to these clutches, and that's how you transfer from the front to the rear on these. But people hate on haul decks, but something we can do with haul decks that we can't really do with Quattro is we launch them with a 50-50 split, totally locked up, and then once you're past your first and second gears where you have a big ratio that's wanting to break the tires loose, once you get into third and fourth, we start bleeding that power off of the rear. We actually pass through the traps quarter mile completely front wheel drive because we can gain 3 or 4% drivetrain loss by not pumping it to the rear.
Wasn't it you who went to the track and had an issue? Didn't you like break an axle and you just ran front wheel drive?
Yeah.
And what'd you run?
We went 9.2 at like 162.
Do you realize how crazy that is? Because I used to work on a team, C&M Performance, and it took us so much to go like 9.5 with a VR6 that was front wheel drive.
Yeah.
And you just did it by mistake with no suspension tuning, nothing.
We were just so far away from home. We were down in Bakersfield, and the shaft broke. We couldn't get it fixed. We tried, and we had just started tuning this new ECU called Cyvex, and it has really advanced traction control. So, like on the spot, we just started playing with traction control and just seeing if we could get it to launch, and then just not spin until it got up to speed where we could take off. So, pretty wild.
So nuts.
Yeah.
And it's not like you don't have like anything crazy back here.
Yeah, no, it's pretty.
Like when we were doing that with the VR6 Jetta we had, like first of all, we were running a wheelie bar.
Yeah.
Second, we were basically running straight struts in the rear so we'd get no squat.
Right.
Just because we get so much wheel spin.
Right.
But you guys can figure that all out through programming.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful time to be alive. It's just